What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review the 2021 album by Rob Zombie. Basically, this product is called the Lunar Injection Kool-Aid Eclipse Conspiracy, and it came out in the late winter of 2021. So the thing about this particular product, I'm just going to refer to this product as the Lunar Injection just because the pitch behind it is trying to remember that title is kind of lengthy as far as that pitch goes. But this is a very top-notch album here. This is the most recent Rob Zombie album up to this particular stage. After this, prior to this particular album, he had not dropped since 2016. Before that, it was like 2010. So he has not dropped that many times since like the early 2010s. I'd have to say, pretty good pitch. But then, as it's known, basically Rob Zombie has been around since like the mid 80s. So it's just kind of the pitch behind it. You know, over 30 years in the game as far as those particular pitches kind of go along with it. Just some excellent type concepts. But this is basically the last Rob Zombie album I have to get to in terms of reviews. I'd have to say I look after there's still like 3 or 4 more White Zombie projects I'm going to get to as time goes along. We'll definitely get to some more of these. But this is I'm very glad and very glad about the concept that just the fact that this Rob Zombie album continues the particular trend of having classic Rob Zombie albums here and just another excellent type pitch of just like some sheer and blistering type fanfare. I was almost questioning some artists kind of somewhat hinder themselves in recent times just upon the pitch of what particularly kind of goes along. But this is another one that just has excessive quality and just continues Rob Zombie's legacy, doesn't taint it, doesn't hinder it, doesn't have this project doesn't taint Rob Zombie's legacy, doesn't hinder his legacy, and just overall has a lot of blistering appeal. Basically, just like a stock shot in the arm as far as those pitches will kind of happen, as far as like an update of what he's been up to for like the past 40 years, as far as that particular kind of goes along with it. Just has that appeal. Some new tricks in here, some throwback songs in here, some excellent metal, some great riffage, some snarl, some of that vintage Rob Zombie that just has the appeal of like hangout type fare from like the late 80s, early 90s. There's plenty of those pitches, similarities to like some of his hit songs like Thunder Kiss and Dragula and some of those type of pitches, some of those type ones, More Human Than Human, some of those type of pitches. Maybe it's not as much of like an electro kind of it's not as much like an electro kind of not as much like an electro kind of techno type product like White Zombie was kind of like in the mid 90s, but for the most part, it covers a lot of bases on here just within the pitch behind it. So it has plenty of skits on here, has some instrumentals on here. There's at least a couple of these that work, but basically out of 17 songs, I wound up recommending 10. But the actual thing about it is just the fact that out of actually 11 songs that are actually songs, or at least to the most part, within the fashion, I would say I wound up recommending 10 out of 11 songs in here. But I guess the concept about it is one of these songs is kind of not a song either, which I would say the much talked of Metamorphosis. I would say there's actually just 10 songs on here, and I wound up recommending 9 out of 10 songs on this particular product. But I'm going to count one of these interlude type songs. So basically, I would say 10 out of 11 on here. So yeah, this album's going to get a 10 out of 10, I would have to say. This continues to pitch. Now, the thing about Rob Zombie, just within his charting appeal, is just the fact that he's basically one of those ones, like just like when Metallica drops or AC/DC drops or Foo Fighters drops or some of those types of folks, he's always going to get to the forefront. But this is kind of the concept that he kind of disappeared pretty quickly. I'd have to say it's just kind of the regular routine type pitch. He had his brief window of just promotion cycle, and then if you didn't hear the songs around that particular time, it just went up in smoke as far as that particular pitch kind of goes, just like the circus or something like that, I would have to say. But I just look after the tone, just within the aspect behind it. There were some good songs. Yeah, like I said, this classic album here, just being able to say so. Basically, the first single was The Triumph of King Freak, which is also the subtitle of Crypto Preservation and Superstition, which is an excellent type pitch here. I basically look after this song. It's like a fiery kind of dungeon music and visceral hangout noise, I would feel like, about this particular one. It's definitely some outdoor smoke good and turn up type song to kind of get here. So it's just a particular type pitch. I feel like I forget the name of the single off of Rob Zombie's 2006 album, Educated Horses, but the first single you hear off that particular project has some similarities to this one. It's just very doom metal-esque, I'd have to say, just within the concept. I feel like both The Triumph of King Freak and Crow Killer Blues have some similarities to like arena metal as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just dungeon type fare, just a real aspected type tone to kind of get. But I do like these new angles that Rob Zombie particularly kind of tries on here because I feel like this album, while it is ferocious, is actually kind of just more just like a good metal album, more so than the actual aspect of like the most vicious riffage that you're going to hear on here. It's actually pretty interesting how balanced it kind of is, just amalgamating all of Rob Zombie, amalgamating all of Rob's, just as far as amalgamating all of Rob Zombie's type styles and then balancing them with like a good palette and just overall topic matter in addition to trying some new strengths. So this is a particular one. This is definitely like, I would feel like just more kind of demonic kind of dungeon type music, just kind of get just an outdoor kind of hangout, but also indoor hangout, just with like some louder turn up. I just would have to say just more noise centric, but a good concept for that. Rob Zombie is this classic kind of 90s hangout type fare for PlayStation type music and original pitches like that. Just some of those type tones. MTV, Jackass, Beavis and Butthead, some of those type tones I'd have to say. Good pitch. But I look after it. The Eternal Struggles of the Howling Man is the second single. It's like a jivey kind of out on the town, speeding around and kind of fun, quick times to kind of have here, I'd have to say. Definitely some good pitches. Like I feel like there are some songs by Rob Zombie that you'd listen to in like a Matrix type style, speeding around on like a motorcycle, some pitches like that. It's appreciating the concept of speeding around with your sunglasses on. Obviously not getting tickets and accidents and pitches like that, but just the concept of just being able to say some good quick times to just appreciate like some sleek kind of life and just living as far as like nightlife and just overall flashy type styles. This has like some good snarl about this particular song. It's just an overall pretty hot song to kind of get. It's a good pitch. This one takes it back to like his Hellbilly Deluxe type days, like something like Living Dead Girl or one of those types of pitches. I'd have to say Super Beast, some of those particular type tones. I'd have to say good, excellent concept. But it really feels vehicle centric. The song feels vehicle centric, but that's definitely an excellent concept just within the pitch behind it because it just has like some good, excellent type pacing and overall just thrilling type energy to kind of get this very manic, I'd have to say, which is an excellent concept. And then Crow Killer Blues is the third single. This is like a howling kind of arena metal. I would definitely feel like this like an active kind of festivity fun. I would feel like about this particular one, not just sluggish kind of festivity where you're all drowsed out and just pitches like that, just kind of super drugged up, some of that type there. I mean, I definitely think it's a good smoke sesh, but this is just one where there's going to be some noise and actual dap and just kind of chatter and just talk like that, just jokes going, stories, pitches like that. I'd say just some outdoor kind of smoke session, barbecue type music, and get as far as those pitches going to happen. Just a good gather type song kind of having this like some demon jive to kind of get here. So this one, good pairing with the Triumph of King Freak. I'd say just some pretty much good, excellent type hangout type fare. Even though I feel like the Triumph of King Freak is more indoor type bound, I'd say Crow Killer Blues is just more of like a festival something. Is out and about. Like I said, this metal cookout just with like some buddies that are all into Rob Zombie. I'd say pitches like that, just similar fashions, not just like a work cookout. It's not as much SFW type pitches, but it's just a good concept. Kind of have like some just good, just overall vast kind of grander scale kind of appeals to have some folks that just appreciate like this sort of music. So this next concept. I would say that some of this album is SFW, but a lot of this is just the relief behind it. A lot of this just has like the concept of standard job fare as far as that pitch can goes, but once this almost exactly once the clock hits like 5 or 6 o'clock p.m. and work is done, it's just a good concept to just get some of these conduits just to get towards like some fun having this overall thrillingness. Just some good concepts. I feel like in some senses I would almost say the Eternal Struggles of the Howling Man could probably be like a relative work shift type one, just for like some pitches of just going and getting some stuff done after just some quick times of getting some errands done. But I look after like the other two songs are just more hangout type noise, just recreational aftermath of just done with things. But yeah, so basically I recommend every song on this album in terms of like the 10 songs that are on here, with the exception of the song 18th Century Cannibals, Excitable, Morlocks, and a One-Way Ticket to On the Ghost Train. That's the only real song. I really did not like the production fare of that one. It really felt like a Pioneer era type metal song to kind of get. Basically, if you would have had like some riffage of like metal type fare or something, Rob Zombie or one of those folks, Marilyn Manson, someone like that would have done, like AC, Metallica, some of those type folks in like a more kind of retro type fashion of easily like 1930. I mean, obviously metal was not around with that fashion back in those days, but just the concept of something from like Pioneer days, it just really, it says 18th Century Cannibals, it really has that particular tone. So I didn't understand the purpose of that particular song, which is kind of an awkward one, just the only dud on here, I'd have to say. Now, the only other thing about this particular album is there's a number of instrumentals on here. The best one I'd have to say out of all these is the much talked of Metamorphosis. That's the only one that really has like the most bite about it, just in terms of like the overall glaze and just affable kind of connecting kind of production instrumentation type fare, I'd have to say. But I'm not going to de-rank this album for that. This album's going to get a 10 out of 10, but there are some interludes on here that do have differential kind of connecting ability. So that kind of happens to be a thing. But yeah, to talk about some of these songs on here, the much talked of Metamorphosis is like a glazed and forlorn kind of sunset gaze of a song, I'd have to say. Definitely some good sunset gaze kind of torment, I would feel like. And it's like a good moody kind of makeshift ponder to kind of get here. It's really something. It's looking off into the sunset, this evening gazes, pitches like that. I just would have to say just some standard kind of work shift type relief as far as those pitches kind of happen. This particular song just kind of has more of like a chip on its shoulder, a little bit more preoccupied from most of the rest of the tone of this particular album. It's not quite as recreational, I'd have to say, but I do like the overall moody and standoffishness of this particular song. So it is a nice one to kind of have for some of that. This good good dramatic type flair. Boom 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 is one of the best songs off this particular album in terms of the immediate factor. It's like a snaking and murky kind of electro rave club splitter. I'd have to say about this one. Has a very vicious style and feral execution of how it delivers upon it. I would definitely feel like this is one that slaps pretty hard. Rob Zombie really nails the chorus. There's some excellent choruses on here. Rob Zombie's known for his menacing hooks, obviously with ones on the degree of like Dragula and Super Beast and some of those type ones, and More Human Than Human and Thunder Kiss. Just had to say there's some good ones on here. I definitely feel like the dungeon metal ass style of Triumph of King Freak is a pretty nice one for some of that. But a lot of these just almost feel cult like. I just would have to say the concept. It just really feels like some arena metal combined with like Rob Zombie's standard craziness. Now he's not as much full blown in rave mode this time. I feel like there are some decent dance floor and club type songs kind of get shake your ass songs like shake your ass, smoke your grass, boom boom boom, get loose, and the eternal struggles of the Howling Man are like some good ones for that relative kind of turn up type fare, but it is a pretty balanced project just in terms of like the brief songs that you get, just being able to say that there's like some good appeal behind it. But Boom 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 is definitely one of the most immediate. Get Loose is a pretty quality one as well. It's like a great excitement for switching to flip mode from like work shift slag, I would feel like here, and it's like a map out the night, get hype and smoke a bit type song kind of get. So this one the song has particularly hellish snarl. I'd have to say about this one. It's definitely some of the best riffage on here, along with Triumph of King Freak, I'd have to say. Some excellent type ones on here to kind of get. I'm trying to think of some other ones like Shake Your Ass, Smoke Your Grass is obviously a quality one. Definitely appreciate the appeal. The song title of this is pretty straightforward. This is like a basic kind of dance floor metal gem, I'd have to say. Good concept, get some metal songs that are meant for the dance floor as far as those pitches going to happen. It's like vintage zombie, I would have to say, in like a Friday night turn up type feel about that. I'd have to suppose, and this is just an overall dope one to kind of get here. There's a little bit of taste of white zombie on here, just some of that more just some of that more low key kind of house party type fare, just something you'd have for like red cup type music and just more beer pong type playing some of those type pitches, standard hard liquor just within the sense. But I do feel like some of this could probably be played on the dance floor just with like some relative turn up. That's the thing about this particular album is a lot of these songs on here have pretty blistering type quality to kind of switch to like just hearing and like a standard routine kind of night, not just the singles. I'd have to say, despite the fact that Rob Zombie seemingly was kind of past like his prime in terms of just hearing like 10 or 5 or 8 of his songs off his particular albums, but I think a lot of these just probably should be getting airplay just because the overall this balance of how interchangeable they kind of are. Shadow, the Cemetery Man, is another highlighted one. It's like a basic kind of night venue buzz. I would feel like about this one. Just reminds me of like a mellower song reminds me of like a mellower kind of Hellbilly Deluxe type tune to kind of get here, and this is just like a basic bop. So this is just one. This feels like something I can't really think of like the exact songs, but just one of those ones off the Sinister Urge by Rob Zombie from 2001, or like Hellbilly Deluxe from 1998. I'd have to say just some pitches just behind that. I mean, those particular single, the Sinister Urge got to like the 5th single, so it's just more like an in between type one. Just has some it's a good song, definitely has some good riffage on there, but it's just kind of more basic compared to some of the more feral type ones like the Satanic Rites of Blackula and the Satanic Rites of Blackula, Get Loose, and the Triumph of King Freak, I'd have to say. But yeah, this album is not limp by any stretch, but when talking about like turn up and riffage on here, the instrumentation's pretty excellent, I'd have to say. The Ballad of Sleazy Rider is a nice one as well. It's like a throwback kind of late 80s metal, the White Zombie days. I would definitely feel like here a pretty good pitch. This feels like really something ripped out of 1993 or 1991, I'd have to say. This is like a basic kind of night venue splitter to kind of get. So if you do miss like some of that 90s kind of hangout type fare, just back in those days when MTV was huge, some of those type fares are just back in the relative leftover days of glam metal, hair metal. Back in the relative leftover days of glam metal and hair metal, as far as those pitches kind of happen, it's like a basic kind of night venue splitter to kind of get here. But just would have to say about the appeal behind this one. There's a lot of good aspects about this, particularly it really feels like Rob Zombie in 2021 with like the style and pitch that he had in 1993. So I just really appreciate the concept of some of those type ones. White Zombie is definitely still the shit, so it's an excellent concept to be able to get that and just be able to see some of this affability just within the standard style that they have, just continuing some of these trends. So it's just a good concept, but it's not really 1995 White Zombie, I'd have to say. So it's not as much like Astro Creep 2000 as much as it is more like the 1992 album, which I forget what that album's called. I think that particular album is called Lost Sexorcisto, so I forgot about that volume 1, I'd have to say. Yeah, I just would have to say, so I'm thinking that I covered every song on here to recommend as far as those pitches going to happen along with this. I just would have to say, yeah, this album gets a 10 out of 10. The social score is going to go ahead and get a 10 out of 10 also. I just look after the quality. There is, like I was saying, the makeshift on this particular product is just more like the aspect of 5 o'clock p.m. forward as far as those pitches kind of happen. I feel like there are some songs for Traverse pitches like that, like the Eternal Struggles of the Howling Man, and probably songs like the much talked of Metamorphosis, I'd have to say. And on a side note, I didn't talk about the Satanic Rites of Blackula, so I'm going to talk about this one. The Satanic Rites of Blackula is like a stock club noise night of venue energy. I would feel like in Splendor, I would definitely have to say, and it keeps the pace going pretty good. And this song keeps the pace going, I would have to say, and it's a pretty hot song to kind of get here. So it's just a good stock type one to kind of get. Basically, a good one with like Get Loose, The Triumph of King Freak, some of those type of pitches. I'd have to say Crow Killer Blues, just without some of the more arena metal typeness to kind of get, but some real good appeals on here. So yeah, like I was saying, to some of these type of ones, there's a lot of good venue energy, a mild taste of like some rave type tones with songs like Boom Boom Boom, some of those type ones, a mild taste of dance floor type metal with songs like Shake Your Ass, Smoke Your Grass, and pitches like that. Some pretty feral metal type songs with some of Rob Zombie's more vicious, maybe not his most vicious, but definitely some of his extremely vicious type ones, like the Triumph of King Freak, Get Loose, some of those type ones. Like a touch of the Satanic Rites of Blackula, I'd have to say. So some good concepts. Really appreciated like the Glazed and Forlorn kind of instrumental, much talked of Metamorphosis, I'd have to say. So there's just some nice ones on here. Just pretty balanced type project. Tries some new styles and works them pretty damn well. Dungeon music, after hours metal, dance floor metal, rave type metal, some pitches like that. The standard craziness just kind of get, and just combined with like some gnarled kind of venue riffage and just throwbacks to like 80s White Zombie days, pitches like that, I'd say. So it's good concepts. So the social score, if I wasn't talking about the social score just there, I'm going to go ahead and say that the social score is going to get a 10 out of 10. This, all these bases being covered, just really has the aspect of this just being a good metal album for the early 2020s. I don't know if metal kind of has as much flack as like rap does in like the 2020s, I'd have to say, but this is definitely an excellent type one to kind of get here. Rob Zombie maintains his composure and just overall execution and quality, continues his legacy, pitches like that. So it's just another stock one, despite the fact that nowadays it seems like he doesn't get as much shine in terms of today's times. But that definitely shouldn't be. This is a haunting type album. It's not quite as normally haunting. I feel like the ghastliness is definitely on here. There's definitely something that you can play in like the fall and winter, I'd have to say, but it doesn't as much have it on. I mean, I guess with songs like the Satanic Rites of Blackula, Crow Killer Blues, the Eternal Struggles of Howling Man, and some of those type ones. I mean, the album titles definitely have that, but just in particular, this is not like, I feel like it's vicious, but there are White Zombie and Rob Zombie records that can keep up with this in terms that it just doesn't go. It's not try. I feel like this is an excellent album here, but I just don't feel like they were really flexing on this particular one in terms of like how vicious that they could have gotten. So that's definitely the concept. But this is more balanced and tries more different styles, more so than just being complete gnarled riffage at one after the other. But still 10 social. In terms of the future, like this is Rob Zombie's most recent project, so it's a pretty excellent pitch there to kind of get. I'm going to start getting into some more White Zombie. I covered some White Zombie last year. I'm going to get to some more of these, and then we'll basically cover the entirety of White Zombies and Rob Zombie's entire catalog, I'd say. So it's an excellent type pitch. This is a classic here, which is pretty excellent concept. So yeah, we'll get to some more of these, but this is some shrill type stuff.